Hey, what's up guys? Thanks for stopping by the channel. So for me, it's been another week and another Grand Seiko purchase. I think this is actually the second Grand Seiko that I picked up over the course of a month. And personally, there's only one person to blame for this Grand Seiko obsession. And that man is Sanjay from the Engineer Wannabe YouTube channel. Sure, he seems all nice and cordial on his live streams, but I secretly think he works for Grand Seiko as one of their sales ambassadors to Canada. But seriously, guys, Sanjay is great. I'm going to leave a link to his YouTube channel in the description of this video. Please check it out, especially if you're interested in any Seiko or Grand Seiko models. He reviews them quite frequently. So without further ado, let's open up this box and show you my latest timepiece pickup. Alright, there it is, guys. This is the Grand Seiko SLGH005, also known as the White Birch, of course because you have this gorgeous and heavily textured silvery white dial. But before I give you guys my initial impressions, after only owning this watch for about the past 24 hours, I do want to give a big shout out to the authorized dealer in the Greater Toronto area where I purchased it, and that is Bandira, and I'm sorry if I butchered their name, but I was helped out with a sales associate named John. He went above and beyond to make sure that not only myself, but I was at the authorized dealer with my twin brother, as well as Sanjay and one of our good other friends, Wolfgang, who's a watch enthusiast and joins the live streams as well. So again, check out this authorized dealer if you're interested in Grand Seiko, and talk to John, tell him I sent you. He'll definitely help hook you up. And I also mentioned that I did get some free Grand Seiko swag from that authorized dealer. This was what John appeared to think was a pen. It ended up being a Grand Seiko strap, which was a huge add-on benefit, so big thanks for that. And then I also got, I'm not sure what the heck this is. It might be like a servicing pouch or something, but it says Grand Seiko on it, and it looks kind of cool. Alright, so back to the actual watch. With the White Birch, of course, the standout feature is that silvery white dial. And it does look really silver and metallic in certain lighting situations, but it can also look a little more muted and creamy white in lower light situations. And what really sets it off, I find too, is that thermally blued lancet style seconds hand, which does sweep away very smoothly because this is a high beat movement ticking away at 36,000 vibrations per hour. And their new in-house movement is an 80-hour power reserve, which is phenomenal. I'll give you guys some rough dimensions just to help you understand how it wears. I think this is a 40mm case size, and then doing a quick check on my calipers, lug to lug appears to be about 46.5mm, although I'm sure it's slightly longer with the male end links that protrude from the case ever so slightly. Case thickness is a very pleasing just under 12mm, and that is to the bottom of the display case back, which I really enjoy that doesn't protrude too much from the underside of the case, so it will wear flat on your wrist. And then you do have a slightly domed sapphire crystal, which I think carries some anti-reflective treatment, but again, this dial and the dial furniture is second to none. So one of the first things about picking up this watch that I noticed right away is that it's quite legible, and again, you do get a lot of light play depending on how you want to view the watch. There's no lume on the dial, but you could see that the applied hour markers are all multifaceted and highly chamfered and polished near the edges of them. Even the date cutout at the 3 o'clock position is nicely bordered. And of course, with the hand stack, you got that really nicely truncated hour hand that almost looks kind of cut off near the end, and then more of your traditional dolphin style minute hand. Another pleasing feature about this watch that I really enjoy is that they didn't go crazy with the Zaratsu polishing. I actually like that this watch is mostly brushed on the sides of the case, and you do have a Zaratsu polished chamfer that extends all the way from one extremity of a lug to the other. And then you have things like the tops of the links for the bracelet is actually all brushed. So the links are actually nicely rounded. And the bracelet is actually another improvement I think that Grand Seiko achieved, because I feel like it's more substantial than other dressier or sports models from Grand Seiko. And it's interesting because it's a 40 millimeter case diameter, but the lug opening here is 22 millimeters, and then you get a very slight taper to about 20 before you get to the clasp from Grand Seiko. And the clasp is also really well engineered because it's one of the few that doesn't fold over and protrude. You can actually see the integration with the clasp to the bracelet is pretty spot on. And you do have a twin trigger releasing mechanism here. Regrettably, there are no micro adjustments on the twin trigger mechanism for the clasp, but you get half links on either side of the bracelet to fine tune your sizing adjustment. Alright, so the sapphire display back is another highlight because it does show off the new in-house high beat Grand Seiko movement inside, which has 80 hours of power reserve, and you can just see that escapement going crazy. And it's a more efficient escapement, and that's how they can give you 80 hours while still beating away at a frequency of 5 Hertz. I like how they also hollowed out the rotor more. So the rotor weight is still there, but you can actually see most of the movement. You can see the plates, the bridges, the really nice jewels, and some of the Grand Seiko finishing. And it's not obstructed by any text written on the case back. Although what I learned is that there is a very fine Grand Seiko Lion hologram in the center, but you can't really see it unless it's at certain angles or under high magnification. This is just a quick wrist shot of the Grand Seiko White Birch on my 19 centimeter circumference wrist. So that's 7.5 inches. And just a note of caution, if your wrist size is like bigger than 20 centimeters, you might have to get extra links because there's only one half link taken out of this bracelet when I picked up this watch. So looking down the barrel, I do want to emphasize how flat this watch sits on the wrist. And I really like that feature because a lot of the other automatic or spring drive models from Grand Seiko I've owned had a really nice bump in the case back and the watch head sat a little bit high. But this one seems extremely well planted, and also because you have a broader stance with the thicker bracelet too. So this is just my quick unboxing and initial impressions of the Grand Seiko White Birch. There's definitely going to be a full review down the line once I spend a lot more time wearing this watch and going over some of the more nuanced features. But as always guys, if you have any questions, please drop it in the description of this video. I really appreciate you watching this video to the end. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. And as always, I'll catch you guys in the next video.